Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Bruce?
Lionel.
Bruce. Hey, you know what? I just got an email from that Paul. I can't even, I don't even know how to say his name correctly. It's C-A-S.
Paul?
Yeah, yeah. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Paul?
When in doubt, we can work on the 4-letter words.
Yeah, exactly. There's 2 syllables in it. Let's ask Don. Don?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Don?
Yes. Lionel?
Are you out in the shed?
No, I'm here.
What do you call it? Do you call it the shed, or do you call it Tom Jacobs calls it the train barn?
I call it the train shed.
Train shed, okay.
Yes.
When you're speaking with the missus, you'll say you'll be out in the shed?
The train shed.
And out in the train shed.
Yes.
And where is it in relation to the swimming pool?
If you walk out the door of the swimming pool, you look straight down the path right to the train shed.
How big a lot do you have?
I got double lot. So it's like 100 by 80.
Oh yeah, that
Nice.
one. Yeah, and is it one of the few houses in the neighborhood with a double lot or something?
There's the house across the street from me has a double lot, but it's mostly wooded on the second part of it. You can hardly even see the house. That's how it's overgrown.
Okay, like as in overgrown as like the guy's lazy, or overgrown and as
overgrown as the woman and the guy are divorced, and she lives there with her son.
Oh, okay, and the son's useless.
That's it. Well, he has issues.
Oh,
so.
okay. My son is 36, and he has started working in the family business, and I'm almost convinced it's not my son. It's got to be some other guy.
You think the aliens got him?
I don't know what happened, but there's this guy working in my business that's like, it's like, I don't know who the hell you are, buddy, but you're doing one hell of a job.
That's a good thing.
You can't be the same guy that I begged for 15 years of your life to cut the grass. You cannot be that guy. It cannot be. There's no way.
So it happens when you get older, you get wiser.
I guess. Anyways.
Well, that's the theory.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, so there's hope for your neighbor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
I'm like, today he's like, I come in the office and he says, blah, 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 blah. So I did X, Y, and Z, but I told him I'd have to get your approval first. And I'm like, you did what? And he said X, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, my brain is going, well, shit, darn, I don't think I would have come up with that smart of an answer. So is it okay, Dad? Sure. Knock yourself out. Carry on. You know what? I'm going to go back to the golf course. You carry on.
You're doing a good job here.
Yeah.
I'll see you after the back 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, exactly. So tell you, there's always hope. Anyways, yeah. How many kids do you have?
My daughter. Just my daughter.
Right. And
in Rhode Island, in Coventry.
and how old is she?
She's 36.
What about your son-in-law? What's he like? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's a year younger than she is.
Okay, but you're not like every time he comes around, you're not like, oh, it's you.
Oh no.
Okay, well, I don't know. You never know. It's you never know.
No, he's a good guy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyways, that's enough of the family. How about you, Bruce? How many kids do you have?
3 boys.
All boys. What are their names? Hey, what are their names and their ages?
Bradford is 38. Matthew is 34. And I think Cameron's going to be 32 in December.
Okay.
It's funny how us as parents can't remember our kids' own ages.
Yeah. It's well, I only got one, so it's pretty easy. You have these people that they have, 3 kids and 8 grandchildren. They rhyme them all off, and you're like, really? Anyways.
Yeah. Oh, correction. Cameron will be 33 in December.
You just found that out? You check his license or something?
No, I was doing the math in my head.
Do you have any grandkids? Not many people.
None that I know of.
Not many people.
And I think none that my sons know of either.
I do.
We'll get back to you, Don. We're talking to Bruce right now.
Okay.
You know what, Bruce? I don't think people really know much about your kids or whether you had grandkids or anything like that. So it's good to ask these questions.
Yeah, no grandkids. I had three boys. One was born in Edmonton, one was born in Georgetown, and one was born in Ottawa.
Oh, so one was born in Edmonton, Alberta.
Yes, sir.
It's not Wayne Gretzky, is it?
No. No, that'd be the oldest one, Bradford.
Okay.
So he was born in October 82. And Matthew was born in Georgetown in January of 77. And Cameron was born up in Ottawa in December 88.
Okay. That's great.
And no, I was not on the run from the law.
Every time you say Bradford, there's a town not far from where we live called.
There is a town called Bradford. Yes,
so is
Bradford,
that what
West Gwillimbury.
So is that what you were doing? Was naming them for towns in eastern provinces?
No, actually, Bradford was a name of I'm not sure what it was, cartographer, photographer, explorer, whatever. Used to be heavily involved in National Geographic. Bradford Alexander Washburn.
Oh.
And we always liked the name Bradford and the name Alexander, and that's how he got his student, Bradford Alexander.
Really?
Yes, sir.
What's your daughter's name, Don?
Alicia.
Boy, you had to think about that for a minute.
No, I was on mute.
Attaboy.
All right. So what we got here is we got Bruce, the moderately agitated male boy, and Don Iris, all the way from Sebastian, Florida. And the reason you two guys are here is because we're going to talk to somebody that sent us an email some time ago. His first name is Paul. His last name is spelled Cassar. And Don, you've become friends with him over the internet.
I have.
Right. And have you been over to his house?
Not at all.
Has he invited you?
No, he hasn't invited me, but if he could, he would. But nobody going over there.
Well, he can invite you if he wants.
You can invite me if you want. I don't know if I can get there or not, but I've never been to Australia.
So is that where he's from?
He's from Australia, yes.
So how do we pronounce his last name?
That's a good question. I would say Cassar, maybe.
I'd say Cassar.
Cassar.
What about you, Bruce?
I would go Cassar, Cassar, one of those.
Cassar. Oh, I like that. Paul Cassar. That has a nice ring to it. So that'll be, you know what? That'll be the first question we ask him when he comes in here.
Yes.
How do you pronounce your name? And then he'll think we mean his last name, and I'll go, no, I was talking about your first name. Is it Paul?
And we'll all have a good guffaw
and we'll have a good laugh and move on from there. All right, exactly. Don. So, Don, how did you meet him?
I posted some of my pictures to another group, and he got a hold of me and asked me if I would belong to his group, and he sent me the link, and I joined, and we've just been communicating ever since. This has been going on. It's got to be at least 3-4 months now, and we talk quite a bit, So,
and somehow he sent an email, and then I was talking to you about it, and then you said you talked to him, and then we kind of all went, and then you said we should get him on the podcast, and then it turns out it's this guy he's does all sorts of stuff with the railroad over in Australia. So I said, let's do it. So that's it. This has been a very poor introduction. Our buddy Dalton, whose email we read in Viewer Mail 86, he's not impressed with the way we get the show started.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I recall Dalton's emails.
Yeah. All right. So Don, he's your best friend, so you go get him. Hey, oh, I know. Before you go get him, do you like him more than you like Mark?
Ooh.
I like
we had to
everybody.
think on that one.
I like everybody the same.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Very diplomatic.
Yeah, very diplomatic.
Mark is a longtime friend and a buddy, so I'm pretty fond of Mark.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. If you've ever listened to the podcast, I occasionally do that.
I know you
really.
Do.
Yeah, occasionally, just
Wow.
on occasion.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at that admission.
You're not. Are you dismayed or just shocked?
Just shocked.
Okay, Don, go get your buddy out of the green room and make sure he hasn't. See if he's eaten any of the green shrimp.
All right. Hey, Paul, you there? Come on out. We want to talk to you.
Okay, just finish off this. Well, you call it shrimp, but I call them prawns.
Prawns. All right. We'll throw another prawn on the Barbie. Where
That's
is that?
it.
Where does that? So you're in Australia, Paul.
Yeah, I'm in Sydney.
So how do you pronounce your name?
So there's two. You're both right. I say Cassar, but my son says Cassar. So mostly Cassar is the way it's announced, but us Australians sort of put a slang on it, and I'll answer to anything. But Cassar is probably the way I always pronounce it.
Yeah, well, we meant your first name. Is it Paul?
It's Paul.
There we go.
We talked about that before you came into the studio. We thought it was hilarious.
Now we're going to have a good guffaw.
Yeah, we're all having a good. So Cassar. So that I like that. So
Yep.
what's the heritage of that name? Is it English?
That's Maltese.
Well, of course.
So my parents are Maltese immigrants. Are actually some of the first war refugees to come out to Australia, and I nearly was a Canadian, believe it or not. Only that the line was shorter to go to Australia, and the wait was shorter. that he picked that Dad came to Australia instead of Canada.
Well, there you go.
That's funny.
The line was shorter. I like that. I think that's got to be the subtitle for this. The line was shorter.
Yes.
He wanted to come to Canada, but the line was short. That's a pretty monumental life decision to make, based on the length of a line.
Absolutely. Dad was in the armed force, in the British forces in Malta in World War II, and the country was decimated. Most bombed country in World War II, and wanted a life for him and Mum, and came out. They actually met in a bomb shelter, which was a disused railway tunnel. So even before I was born, the railways had an impact on my life.
This was in Malta.
Yeah.
So where exactly is Malta?
Malta's just off Italy. Sits south of Italy and across from Morocco, from Africa. It's in the Mediterranean. Whoever rules Malta rules the Mediterranean Sea, basically. So it was a key target for Germany during World War II, and was taken back by the British and the Americans towards the end of the war.
That'd be cool. All right. Did you know Bruce? You must have knew that.
Yeah, Malta. There's lots of interesting stories about Malta. Actually,
how big is it?
Very small. I think there's population of 300,000 and roughly 23 square miles. I think it is around that.
Okay.
It's about the size of Rhode Island.
Yeah. And then it's at the end of the Mediterranean Sea, you said, or the beginning of it? The entrance?
It's sort of at the entrance.
Okay. But couldn't you just go around it?
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, Paul, so you sent us this really cool email, and somehow I managed to lose it, which is about par for the course for me. And I was going to go back and read it, but I couldn't find it. And then you just sent it to me again. But what do you do for the railroad there?
So I'm a senior signalling engineer, but I've now gone into senior management. We're rolling out a new signalling system across the metropolitan area of Sydney, which is what's called the European Train Control System. It's in-cab signalling. So we'll remove all the line-side signalling over the next 10 years. And I'm the Director of Operations and Maintenance and Test and Commissioning for the program. So it keeps me busy. So we're currently in design mode, starting to fit out trains and all that type of stuff.
So is that a satellite-based system?
No, it uses we in Sydney in Sydney trains have our own digital train radio.
Okay.
So it's 2.5G, upgradable to 4G. So the trains will talk to the system over our own digital train radio.
Okay, it's interesting. I was just reading an article today in Britain. They're experimenting, fitting some of the heritage steam locomotives with the European train control because they're starting to switch over to that in some parts of the UK.
That's correct. It's the same system. So I started my career 42 years ago installing signals, and I'll end my career pulling them out.
Okay.
The circle is complete.
Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
You started your career installing signals, and you're gonna. And so, how long have you been listening to the podcast?
Probably when I met Don, probably about 3 or 4 months. I started listening. I searched for podcasts because I walk every morning, and really, this is the only one that survived from what I can see in terms of podcasts. And then I subscribed to Patreon so I could get both.
And you subscribe to, as Kaylee Zhang, she refers to it as the Antics channel.
But I get a lot of enjoyment, and there's 2 a week, and then I probably listen to another 3 previous ones so I can catch up.
Yeah, I know. That's cool. And so, did Don tell you about it?
I can't remember. Possibly. We have spoken about it since many a time. But I think I've searched through podcast on my iPhone and found it. I think it was the first time.
Okay. So, okay. I'm sorry. Go. I cut you off there.
No, that's fine. So, there's really only that one. The only other one that's recently I listen to occasionally, which is from the
before you
NMRA.
Before we go on, do you really want to tell us on the air? Like we're good. We're good with it. You're happy with this one. We don't need to go any further. No, go ahead. Tell us what's the other one you've been listening to.
The Crossing Gate.
Oh yeah, who's that? Who's doing that one?
That's the
Thousand Lakes region. Tom Gazer and his gang.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Tom's doing a good job with that. Yeah, he's enjoying that. So yeah, good.
And William Sampson's on there, who I love his YouTube channel.
Oh, William Sampson's got one of the best YouTube channels going.
Yep. There's probably one better on YouTube, and as Don knows, I rave about it, and that's called Boomer's Diorama.
Boomer's Diorama. Have you ever heard of that one, Bruce?
I have not, but I'm efforting it right now.
Attaboy.
It is this. So just a bit of background. We don't know what his name is. He doesn't give his name, but I know for a fact that he was a model builder for the Star Wars films.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he does tutorials, and he's building another shelf layout at the moment, and it just takes it to another level.
Yeah, some of these guys,
holy cow.
What they can do is amazing. So, do you know of this Do you know of this Boomer? What'd you call it? Boomer's what?
Boomer's Diorama.
Do you know that one, Don? Don.
Don's on mute again.
Don's on mute again.
Yeah, I'm on mute again.
Why are you on mute? Why are you on mute?
I don't know.
Oh my
God! I just
wasn't
saying nothing, so I figured better to mute. I won't do it anymore. Yes, I have checked out Boomer's Diorama. Yes, I am subscribed.
It's very, very impressive.
Is this a gag or something? Somebody sent you along, right?
There's a certain tutorial that he does on box cars, which I've adopted using acrylic washers.
Right.
And wow, learned so much from just. But there's plenty of other YouTube stuff that I watch too. But this guy is just, I rate him as probably one of the best modelers I've seen. He takes it, as I said, to just a unbelievable level.
That's interesting.
He's got a lot of nice stuff.
And so you've been looking at it too, then, Don?
I have.
All right. Explain to me again how you two guys found each other. Just, I'm getting. There's so much. This is gonna. I'm gonna have a headache by the end of this. How did you guys find each other again?
It could have also been through the AML on the Facebook page that I saw Don there as well. But it may have been in one of the groups, another group, and we started, myself and someone else started a shelf modelers group for a number of reasons. And when I see a really good modeler, I invite them across. And we've got 5,000 members now in 5 months. And we've got some great modelers, and modelers from A Modeler's Life, of course. Kelly Fletcher, we've got Tom Johnson.
Tom is an outstanding modeler.
Yeah, absolutely. And Don and Mark are both in the group. And it's quite good, a lot of enjoyment. And I like to share a lot of things. And I have if someone posts, I always make sure I comment, or there's a comment against. If someone takes the time to post, then they deserve some feedback, not just likes. And I think that's encouraged more people to post.
And it's private. But I thought.
Yeah, you're on it. You're in there.
I knew that.
There's a whole bunch of different shelf layout Facebook pages.
Yes, there is.
And it's called. But so let's get straight again. That yours is called
HO Scale Shelf Modelers with 1 L.
Do you know a guy named Martin Jenkins?
I've only through listening to the podcast.
Okay.
Not personally, and I've only joined the NMRA probably 18 months ago. So I'm active in a local, subgroup of the NMRA. Here in Sydney, we do Zoom because of COVID. We do Zoom every couple of weeks or so. But yeah, that bit of a lone modeler, I guess, here in my house with my layout. I do have a couple of colleagues who used to come over, but of course with COVID, that's all dropped away at the moment.
Yeah, you're not a lone modeler anymore, there, buddy. If you've got
absolutely not. No.
HO Scale Shelf Modelers private group, 5,000, just over 5,000 members, and this group has been going how long?
4 months.
Wow, good for you. It is, but I think that just shows that building a shelf layout is not a bad thing to do. Like, I think it's a great way for people to get more and more interested in the hobby, because there's so much you can do. Even on 2 feet by 10 feet or 2 feet by 8 feet, with all the stuff that's available now, you can be occupied for months and years building a layout that size.
Well, I always had a theory with mine. Was I built the shelf, and Don and I have a lot of similarities. I didn't want to be operating on a layout that was plywood. So my goal was to build the layout and put base scenery down first and operate, and then go back and super detail areas. And as you say, you never finish. And the more I learn, the more I want to, take certain buildings down and do extra detail, extra weathering. You never finish.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. Although Don's almost finished.
No, I'm not. I'm almost finished. I'm almost finished with the base stuff. I still got all the detailing to do. I'll be back to the whole thing again.
Right, exactly. So now, what size is the layout you have now, Paul?
So mine's in the garage. It runs 18 feet down one wall and 18 feet on the next wall. So there's about 36 feet of shelf layout. It's loosely based on. I'm more a freelance modeler, but I had it designed by a designer in the States to reflect typical industries within the States. And I actually realised today, thinking I actually had Lance mind review my design.
Yeah. Okay.
And he gave me some pointers. I mean, Lance is probably I have all his books. When I used to have an N scale layout. When we moved home, I sold all my N scale, and I wanted a HO operating layout or switching layout. And I bought all of Lance's books and read through all them, and then we came up with a design. And then I sent it to Lance, and he gave me some feedback, and I built it. So,
and was this that's what Lance does professionally? Is he builds layouts and helps people with their designs and stuff like that? So was this like a business transaction where you sent your layout?
No. So I just happened to. I think I either emailed him or chatted to him briefly on Facebook, and he said, "Sure, send it across. I'll have a look for you."
Oh, great! And so he looked at it, made some suggestions, and away you went.
Yep.
And
exactly.
And for anybody interested in Lance's books, if you're interested in getting going with the shelf model, get Lance's books. They're absolutely treasures for. They'll talk about design, construction, operating. Get them. They're a fantastic set of books.
And we're gonna interview Lance with Tom Klomoski and Bill Sampson.
Well, even Tom, I have been in contact with Tom.
Well, you have not. You have not.
Yeah, and
you have not. Come on.
He gave me his operating instructions from his layout, and I adopted them for mine.
Well, now, how did you find?
I think on the YouTube channel. He's got a YouTube channel, and then I contacted him, and he shared it with me, which was fantastic. Yeah, it's just such a fantastic hobby. And, I listen to you all the time, and you talk about how friendships are made, and, it's true. And people are always happy to help.
Right. Absolutely. That's the thing. That's the thing. The community is model railroading, or well, the community, it's the people, but the gospel is model railroading. I mean, what we share is the model railroading, but really, when we get to what we really enjoy the most is the community. I mean, we all enjoy the hobby, but the community is what's really making it come to life now. And of course, the community was always huge. It was always a major part of the hobby. But now the community is like Don. You would have never met Paul probably. Yep. Was it not for the internet.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we talked about how we met, but I believe I had posted photos on the AML page, fans page, and then he's seen them there.
Yep.
And then we started talking from there. So it's definitely was AML related.
Yeah. But I mean, still, how cool is it now that I can't believe that Paul hasn't invited you over to his place now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you never know. Don, I may come over and operate.
There you go.
I'm here. Just give me the word. Actually, maybe Lionel will come down there at the same time. Yep. We can have everybody here.
Yeah, I know. Well, this will probably be broadcast sometime in the early 2022. But hopefully by then, Donald and I will have at least had gone out to lunch or something.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You're buying.
I will.
All right.
You ride my red truck too.
Yeah, there we go.
But I think it's interesting, certainly in my life, that it was my love for model trains that probably shaped my career. From school, all I wanted to do was be an electrician and join the railways, which is what I did. And I've done my modelling through. I actually, as a trainee, was selected to work on the railways model railway for a number of years. We rewired it, and I used to show it at what we call the Royal Easter Show, which is similar to a county fair. And the government would set up, and I used to operate out there. So that was the start of my career. And continued through in my career in railway signalling, but the hobby's been there most of the time. And I think in the email we talk about when Jason Schron spoke about the how you do your modelling and then girls and cars come along and kids and then you sort of take a break, and then once the kids get a little bit older, you get back into modelling, and that's exactly what happened to me. And a few colleagues at work were into N scale, so I went into N scale for about 10 years, or maybe longer. And then when I sold the house, DCC and sound, I didn't want to convert all my locomotives in N scale, so I sold everything and jumped to HO. And I don't regret that. So
HO? What's HO?
HO?
You talk funny. or I talk funny and you talk normal, one or the other. That's what made me think of Martin Jenkins. He's up there in the Gold Coast. How far are you from? So you're in Sydney, Australia.
Yep.
Now are you in a suburb or?
Yeah, I'm in a suburb. I'm around about 30 miles out from the centre of Sydney. I commute to work when I'm working in the office, and I would be, and Martin's in Queensland, I think around Brisbane. So it's about a 8-hour drive, hour flight. So close to probably 600 miles, 700 miles apart.
Okay, so it's not that big. It's not that far. You're not around the corner from each other, but
no. So people don't realise that the continent of Australia is about the same size of the United States.
Right, it is, yeah.
About 6 hours flight from east to west.
Yeah,
coast.
Exactly. All right, so I'm not more interested, but I'm interested. Try to describe to me again what your career in the railroad and
so okay,
and also I want to talk to you about the fact that there's different gauges in Australia, but we'll get back to that. So so Sydney is in what part? What's the what do you guys call it? You don't call them provinces, you call them
states.
Oh, states, okay.
Yep, and Sydney's in New South Wales.
Okay.
Sydney's the largest city in Australia with about 7 or 8 million people.
Okay.
So the rail network is commuter network, but also we have freight traffic that goes interstate between different states, of course. I started my career as an apprentice, which is like a trainee signal electrician. So I did my electrical trade to become an electrical tradesperson, and in parallel studied railway signalling. At the end of our traineeship, we're examined to become basically a signal electrician. And I qualified back in 1983 and was a signal maintainer at first, so maintaining signalling out on the network. And then I was promoted to a signal electrician in charge. So then I had a team of, we'd go out and attend incidents and failures and also maintenance. And I did some further study internally within the railway. And 1990, I qualified as a signal engineer. So, of course, signal engineers, we have to know what signalling principles are about, understand how to test, investigate any incidents, derailments, collisions, all that type of stuff. So I was promoted to a signal engineer and got into asset management. So I took the renewals part of things. So I was responsible for determining, when a signal needed a renewal or a switch machine, parts of the network. So I did that for a few years, and then I actually took up as contract infrastructure. So I moved into managing significant contracts for the infrastructure side of things. So we managed external maintainers, lifts and escalators. So I understand where Dave talks about, what he manages. And then I was tapped on the shoulder by the executive and asked to manage the infrastructure operations group. So I basically went out of assets into full operations. So in that part of the career, we used to have 8 individual maintenance infrastructure centres, and we built one. So I was responsible for infrastructure for the whole network in relation to any incident management. So we managed derailments. I managed track signaling, electrical, communications, radio, the whole lot. So if there was a major incident, the buck stopped with me. So managed some significant incidents for 5 years, to a point where, I think the record I had was 60 phone calls in an hour.
Holy mackerel.
So
that's like one a minute.
Yeah, basically. So you can only do, and anyone who's done operations management, you can only do it for a certain amount of time. You end up being burnt out from it. Your phone rings constantly. I had a operations manager who managed the trains who used to get up at 4 a.m, and if there was any problems, he'd be calling me. So, you never, even on your weekends, your phone's with you, you're answering texts, escalations come to you. So as much as I loved it, I was right in the thick of things of running trains. I was then tapped on the shoulder to go into a project where we were combining all our signalling complexes into one and building the Rail Operations Centre in Sydney. And if you put in Sydney Rail Operations Centre, you'll see it's one of the largest, well, certainly in the Southern Hemisphere, one of the largest control rooms we put together with, I think it's about 110 operators in the room. So that's not just your dispatchers, but it's your infrastructure operators, your fleet operators who manage trains, all into one room. And I was a technical director responsible for the commissioning of all the equipment to go into that operation centre. Probably one of my highlights of my career. Then post that, I've come across into this role. So, railways is in my blood. I've been to many derailments. I've been to investigated a lot of signalling, what we call irregularities. I'm a senior signal engineer, so with my experience, I'm used in writing policy and standards. So it's been a good career. I've loved every minute of it. But I when you have Mike on and he talks about as an engineer and what we call train drivers, it's tough as well. Working on the railway as a family, and and I don't consider that just family in Sydney, but we're part of a larger railway family around the world, and we've all lost colleagues. I guess the downside of my career is I've lost 3 colleagues struck by train.
Oh, really?
3 guys. 20 years ago, we worked by ourselves. There's a signal failure, you're out there in dodging trains, and it's changed a lot now. And the system I'm putting in is removing more infrastructure off track, which is safer for the maintainers. But yeah, I've lost 3. They're the tough times. But I still am passionate about rail, and some of your guests you have on, I can straight away understand exactly where they're coming from.
So you're moving. So you guys are moving like signal guys have been struck while working on the railroad itself. So now you're in the process or the railroad's in the process of like moving stuff away from the tracks.
Yeah, because you won't have trackside signals. You won't have what we call track circuits for detection. We'll have axle counters that are far more reliable. So a lot of the equipment will be out of the danger zone. Better technology where you can go in and look at the system, look at logs without actually having to go out in the field. So that's one part. And worldwide, there's a move to separate people from trains, workers from trains. There'll always be times that you need to go in, but we'll take blockages rather than have people go in there and take any risk. It's just not worth it.
So how many railroads are there in New South Wales? Like, because there are how many different gauges are there?
So that's, we never got it right 150 years ago. There was a number of gauges: narrow gauge, standard gauge, which is 4 foot 8.5, like the USA.
Right.
And then there's broad gauge, which is 5 foot 3. But the standard gauge now goes to all major cities. So we run a freight network now that is standard gauge across the country, but some of the commuter networks are still the broad gauge and narrow gauge. New South Wales is standard gauge right through.
Okay, so like the standard gauge now goes all the way across to Perth, and
Yep, that's correct.
and how many standard gauge railroads are there?
Well, good question. Of course, a
Well,
big.
hang on. Have some of the questions not been so good? Well, no. I mean, you might as well be honest. If some of the questions have been weak, you might as well tell us now, and we'll try to improve.
They were good. This one's probably more challenging, I would say, because there are multiple mines in the Northern Territory and Western Australia, of course. Rio Tinto and the others who run, some of the longest trains in the world. They're all standard gauge. We actually have one of those is fully automated now, with driverless coal trains up there. Sorry, not coal, iron ore. So we've probably got about 6 still. But like the US, we've got private operators now who are operating on government-owned network. So most of the networks are still government-owned, except the big mining companies. And we're currently not a lot of double stacking. We do double stacking from west of Sydney all the way to Perth. And that's about the only area we do that. But it's growing. The market share from road to rail is improving across to rail. I'm currently building an inland railway from Queensland down to Victoria up through New South Wales out west that will increase rail traffic through there. But in our state, in Sydney, we're building not much heavy rail anymore. It's all metro. So we're building new metro out to the second airport that's being built at the moment.
How big is Sydney?
Sydney would compare to, Sydney in terms of the size of the city itself reminds me of San Francisco.
Okay.
Very similar. It's interesting, what we call the city underground, the original signalling system was designed based on the New York subway. Our head of railways back in the 1916 went across to the USA and brought back a couple of things. One was the what we call low-speed signalling, which came out of the New York subway, and learned how to build iron forged bridges. Hence, we now have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which was designed by the same head of railway in those days. So we have a lot of linkages with USA and also with Canada.
But they don't play hockey in Australia, do they?
Not ice hockey. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. No, it's quite popular. We do play ice hockey as well. It's not as popular as other sports, but there is an ice hockey comp.
Well, all right. Well, let's lace up the blades then. Don, you're not talking much. Now, what do you and Paul talk about when you guys are shooting this stuff?
Basically, talk about our modeling, what he's doing, what I'm doing. We look and see what other guys are doing. It's just, he was just working on a project where he tore up some track to his engine house, and he was asking me what I thought, and I gave him my suggestions, and of course a lot of other guys jump in too. It's not just all about me, It's everybody. That's what's nice about this particular Facebook page. It's really busy, and people really talk about stuff. It's not like you said, you like this, you like a picture, you like. There's some really good modelers. It's probably some of the best modelers on this page than any of the other pages I've seen. It's incredible, some of the photos that get posted and the work that people do.
All right, let me ask you this question. Do you think because people are working on a bit smaller layouts that they're getting the opportunity to post some spectacular photos because they're not overwhelmed by the size of what it is they're building?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, the days of people building layouts with deep bench work that you can't reach, that you basically got to climb over to get to something. I don't see those anymore. Even people that have big basements, they're just not designing layouts that can't be accessible by the hand. I think people that model in a 6 foot by 10 foot area don't think they really have anything, but they don't. But it's not true. It's just the way to go now, and it's the way I went. I went from a huge basement to a shed, and I've built and designed my layout, and it works fine. And to me, it's almost as the big one is, but just a lot less of it. I get the same use. I'm doing the same exact thing, but on a much smaller scale. And I think people, because they don't have really big layouts, they just feel as though that it's just really not competitive with everybody else, but it ain't, because some of these guys are doing some unbelievable work.
Well, and it's nothing about, that's a big part of the whole philosophy of the shelf layout. It's not about being competitive or who's got the biggest layout. It's about enjoying the modeling and what have you.
Exactly. But people need to know that. That's the thing. Was like, you go on some other sites and nobody ever comments about anything. And there's some stuff there that really needs to be commented on. And nobody says nothing. They just like it. Like, you get like 102 likes and nobody says a word. With this particular page, it's more interactive than any other pages I belong to. I belong to plenty of them.
It's kind of like the AML fans page.
Yes, exactly. Very interactive.
Exactly.
Are you part of? Go ahead, Paul.
And what I would say, as Don was saying, it's about. I think shelf layouts gives you that operational aspect. You're not sitting there watching trains continuous run, and it adds that operational level with whether or not you're using cards or switch list. And the level of detail. So that, for me, it's being able to operate one day and then go into a section and add some more detail is the advantage. You're not spending years building a layout, and then it's the maintainability as well. And being a maintainer in signaling, I learned pretty early that simplistic is probably better. I don't have signaling on my layout, by the way, because that's what I do prototypically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That would be kind of a drag, wouldn't it?
Yeah. All my switches are Caboose Hobby throw over levers, and no track detection, no CTC. It's just operating with hand throttles with a switch list, and for me that's what I love. And it's funny though, because when I did used to be in a club. And they'd say, "Oh, you're an electrician. We've got all this wiring to do." And I'd say, "No, that's not what I like doing. I'm more like doing scenery and operating." So, yeah, the reason why I model US is because that gives me that break from my career where I'm working in New South Wales. I didn't want to model New South Wales railways. I like the big US stuff. I like the EMD locomotives. So it's my break. And I really love that. Missouri Pacific, MKT, all that's that's my hobby. But yeah, so a switching layout is easier to maintain, and you can do a lot with it. And I think it's growing. I think a lot of people see the opportunity around shelf layouts rather than the big basements, and a lot of people don't have basements, so they don't have a lot of option.
It's amazing what some of these guys are doing in such a small space. I never really thought about it that much until I joined this group, and the guys out there are doing just like a small little 6-foot shelf, 8-10 inches wide, nice little switch and layout. Looks like they can keep themselves busy there for about an hour. It's great. I mean, I know with my layout, when I built mine, and I've said this before, that I wanted to build it and keep it simple, and I wanted to try to complete it in a year, which I pretty much have. But
but there's something
amazing,
wrong. But there's something wrong with you.
I spend a lot of time out there. There's no doubt about that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I spend a lot of time around my layout, and I don't get that much done. I mean, holy mackerel!
I don't have nobody. I mean, I put on the podcast, and that's why it's basically all I listen to. It's just one. I just go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. And
we're gonna have to
time just goes by.
We're gonna have to start putting them out every day or something when you finally catch up.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite caught up yet. I'm still.
You must. Don't you get tired? Don't you get tired of listening to my voice?
No,
really,
not at all. No. It's funny. I laugh because
good answer.
Yeah, because I get tired of listening to it.
No, it's funny because I mean, most of the podcasts they laugh. You laugh. You're just sitting there, and then you start laughing hysterically about something somebody said, and it's just fun. I mean, then some of them are more quieter and not, they're not much laughing involved. But I'd say probably 65% of them I laugh. Yeah. I laughed at my own the other day. I listened to me and Mark the other day, and I was laughing through the whole thing.
What do you hear?
I just finished that one this morning. It was excellent.
Where do you hear how you sound on your new headset, Don? It's
excited.
Yeah, me too. All right, so let's get over to Paul. Let's get over to. We've killed 50 minutes, and I don't feel like we've accomplished much of anything because there's too much. You do too much. You're one of these guys that I find to be really annoying because you're too interesting. I think
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I think going forward, we got to look at Bruce. We got to look for less interesting people.
Yeah, we can try that.
Your microphone seems to be distant tonight.
I'm talking right into it.
Yeah, that probably sound. You know what I've noticed with this recording equipment is what I hear sometimes is not the computer picks it up and I'll be bugging people the whole time. I can't hear you or move your microphone or something.
You need to turn up your headphones.
No, I can hear Don and Paul quite well.
All right.
Yours just sounds muffled. Yours just sounds muffled for some reason or other. But I was going to say when I probably listen to it afterwards. I mean, it sounds fine. I can hear everything you're saying. It's just that I never thought in a million years, how people, I can remember as a kid, people would buy stereos and hi-fis and all that and listen to this sound. And I'd be like, I can't tell the difference. And now here I am years later going, yeah, I got to get the sound just right, which is like not me at all. Although it turns out it is. So what's this, Paul? What's this, your railroad? And what is maybe you can help me answer this question because you're like Tom Jacobs and Chris Adams and our buddy Chris Atkins out there in Argyle, Texas, which is home of the Fighting Sox, by the way. The River Belt, your Facebook page it's like your other Facebook page is HO scale shelf layouts. It's simple. This is the River Belt line where the NKT and NNW Mopac interchange on a cloudy day. And
I did recall when I read out my email, I had a bit of a dig on that, and I don't know how that happened. I think I must have put the description in and it copied it as a name. I should just change it to the Riverbelt line.
Yeah, I like that the Riverbelt line,
and that was loosely based on the design we did with a little port. But yep, that's quite a good page. What I do with that is when I completed a project or I'm doing something, I post it on Instagram. And it uploads to my Facebook page automatically, so it gets some good updates.
So run that one past me again.
So I have an Instagram account,
right,
which is actually Riverbelt Line.
Okay.
And I post to a lot of modelling sites on Instagram, and it automatically posts to my Facebook page at the same time.
Well, you can help me solve a problem then. And Don, I'm interested. Don, I know you're hip with the kids. Are you having any fun?
I'm having a ball.
All right. We can never meet in person, Don.
We will, though.
I know. I think first time I'll just ride over on my bike. It's the best part about Florida is riding my Harley around Florida because the roads are smooth and it never snows and rarely is cold.
Just got to stay off the grassy corners of the roads because sometimes they're not so nice.
Yeah, that's true. Bruce, is it not time now for me to tell the story about how one day in July I thought I'd go out for an evening ride and I made it all the way to Miami and back?
This is an always entertaining story.
Yes, I've heard this story.
I know. I started out around 6. I was down in Florida by myself. It was July, and it was just a beautiful evening. It was really hot, of course, but it's 6:30 at night and it's still like 88 degrees. And I thought, I'm going to go out for a ride. It's such a great night. And it was like middle of the week. And I started down the Florida Turnpike, which is in the middle of the state and goes all the way down to Miami. And I'm just flying down there. And like 2.5 hours later, I'm in Miami. I'm thinking, oh, I better turn around. Okay. So what was my question? I forget now. Because I started talking about myself.
You're gonna go right over to Don's house to meet him on the bike.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the question. I wanted to ask Paul a question. First, I was asking Don if he was having any fun.
It was about Instagram.
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you, Paul. Move to the front of the class. Don, give him your chair.
Okay. Sit down here. Sit right here, Paul.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So if I go to Instagram. This is going to help me. That we can have a group discussion about this. I'm going to put in Riverbelt line. Is that what I'm going to put in on?
Put in Riverbelt_line in Instagram.
See, you're being difficult again. Underscore is like the underline. Oh, there it is. All I had to do was put in Riverbelt_ and it came up.
Okay.
Paul Cassar. I like that. That sounds like you should be the star of a James Bond movie. Starring Paul Cassar. Yeah. Okay, so my question is, I constantly struggle with most of everything about AML is posted on Facebook. And I always think, I should post this on Instagram too. But then I think I'm just like double posting. And the people that are looking at it on Instagram are just looking at the same thing they looked at on Facebook.
Yeah, you get different followers. I find when you post on Instagram and you put like hashtag model railroading or things like that, it goes out to anyone who's following model railroading.
Okay,
and then you soon start to get a following. So my page on Instagram has 1,050 followers.
Okay.
And then you start adding train people on your Instagram account, and then that feed is all train stuff. So it's just my Riverbelt feed is all train stuff that I've added.
All right.
And it's it's quite good. I quite like that. I get a lot of different views and different photos to Facebook.
You got a new follower on your Instagram account.
Yes, I just saw that.
Are you looking at?
Are you looking at?
I
did change.
Hey, I'm talking here.
Sorry.
Are you looking at it on your phone at the same time I am?
Yep.
Okay. I don't care what anybody says. I apologize to every single listener of the AML Nation. It's a blanket apology. If I'm offending you, I apologize 100%. But I don't care what anybody says. We are now talking to a guy in Florida. We're talking to a guy north of Toronto. We're talking to a guy in Sydney, Australia. You're looking at your Instagram account at the same time I'm looking at it. You see me. I think this hobby is going to absolutely explode. And we're all going to be covered with model railroad goo. I can't see any other possible.
Absolutely. I agree. Some of these, Bernard Helen, who I've been buying some products from with his 3D printed stuff, it just adds another dimension of detail.
Yes.
And you would have seen on the AML site, I've posted photos of little Lionel on the layout as well. I guess I really look up to Jason Schron and what he's done with Rapido. I'm a real Rapido fan and have purchased a number of locomotives in the last 18 months from Rapido, and I think their customer service is brilliant. And I listened to the podcast where he spoke about the issues he had with the RS11s, and I just think that the quality of the products out there now is just unbelievable.
We just talked to Jason Schron again, so you're going to be happy.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
And he volunteered. He contacted me, and I was always kind of thinking he was like are you bothering me again? And this time he contacted me and was it was a super talk. I mean, every talk I've ever had with Jason Tron has been excellent, but we had a great time talking to him.
It's interesting what you just said about we're all in different countries because of COVID, of course, and because we're installing the European train control system. Most of the technical experts and the suppliers come from Europe, right?
Right.
Well, we have meetings, and there'll be people in Spain, in the UK, Australia, of course, and maybe even Japan. Depends what supplier at the time. And we're meeting online because they can't fly in, but we've not slipped on the schedule at all. We're being able to meet now with a number of suppliers and all that using Zoom and Teams and all that type of stuff. So that has really exploded. That's really changed in the last 18 months.
Yeah, everything
as well.
It,
but as you say, Don and I have become friends. We message, and it's interesting our time difference, because when I'm out walking in the morning, it's just before, Don, you're about to have dinner. And then I think at night, when I finish work and I'm relaxing late at night, Don's just woken up and having breakfast. We're able to keep in contact, because I can't interrupt him when he's in the model room, of course, because
why not?
Too much modeling happening.
Why not? I don't think he would mind. Don, do you have a computer in your layout room?
I do have a computer in my layout room.
You don't mind if Paul contacts you while you're working out there, do you?
He can contact. We talk every day.
Yeah,
pretty much. Every day. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
See what's going on, and what modelling is happening, and what's happening in the group, and AML. Do you listen to that last podcast?
Usually, when I get up in the morning, I check my phone, and he's already started a conversation with me, but he has to wait till I get up. He's already up. I mean, there's a big span in time here. So,
all right.
But we talk a lot. We were just talking tonight too about we're gonna get together, like maybe a Skype thing, and talk about how I operate, how he operates.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be good. That'd be great. You should record a bit of it or something, or take notes, and we'll talk about it on the podcast later.
Yeah,
because I picked that up in the podcast that Mark and Don were on, and Don was talking about how he operates compared to the others in the group. And I thought, that's interesting. I'd like to hear a bit more about that in the detail of how he operates.
The others are coming around.
Yeah, how's that going? I was actually when was I listening to that podcast? I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when you were talking about how you send them out an email and said, this is how it's going to be. And you said to your wife, maybe they'll answer, maybe they won't. And
no, they did. I went to one today up in Palm Bay, and I got there about a half an hour early, and I was talking to the guy that owns that one, and he said, oh yeah, I did this. I made this change. We're going to do this now. And I took your suggestion and I did this, and I'm just sitting there eating it all up. I mean, it's nice because they've totally changed their whole operation outlook, from what it was, what it is now.
So Paul,
sorry.
No, I'm sorry. No, you.
I was just going to say, some of the extra details now, like you can get derailers and end of train devices, that adds that complexity to operations. Some people probably don't enjoy that, but I like to operate as realistic as possible. So that gives you some extra things to aim for. Do you put a derailleur on a spur on an industry that you have to remove before you go in, and you write that into your operating rules? It just adds that extra complexity and more realism for those who want to do that. Others just want to go in there and switch cars. That's fine. And others like to do a higher level. I think, and that's reflected in our group, that everybody's different, but it's good to see what others do. I had a senior manager once say to me, Paul, always accept all feedback's good. No matter whether or not you could deem it as being, let's say, negative. There's no such thing. You can choose to take that feedback on, or you can choose to just acknowledge it. And I've always kept that with me.
Yeah,
and I think it's a good thing.
That's actually what I like about it. I was listening to Viewer Mail number 86 today, which, by the way, Bruce, is incredibly entertaining. I'm thinking I'm sending.
Aren't they all?
They're all entertaining.
Yeah, I know, but I'm thinking I'm going to send this one in for an Emmy Award.
Oh.
Like I can't get over. I'm driving along listening to this, and I'm like, this is great, and I'm and I'm thinking, could I possibly be any more egotistical? I'm listening to a podcast that I'm on, thinking that it's great. I got an ego the size. I used to say I got an ego the size of a Buick, but I think I better start saying I got an ego the size of a Toyota Tundra.
Nice. That's a big ego.
Yeah, that is a big ego. Yeah, that's. I had a really good question. Oh yeah, I'm interested in your guys' opinion because you were just saying, Paul. I think you were basically saying, that you've got people of all levels on your HO Shelf Layout Facebook page, but some people are really into scale modeling and others aren't. But you're accepting of everybody. Was that kind of what you were saying?
Absolutely. We have, and Don will tell you, we have some levels that are, beginners or, that they're modeling slightly using different products. And then we get the, we get the
one of those
unbelievable modelers who you just sit back and go, wow, And I think you've interviewed one, Ange. Is it Ange Tori? Angie Tori. He's from Italy. He models US.
Oh, he's on the Facebook page. We've never interviewed him, but he's on the Facebook page. He's part of the AML Nation for sure.
Amazing, and he's on the group. We've, as I say, and all levels, and we encourage. I encourage people to post if they're just starting out. Show us what you've done so far. And I think for me personally, is I like the hobbies. Done so much for me over the years that I like to give back and encourage people to model. I do the same in my career. I have a mentoring group that I run every 2 weeks.
All right, time out.
Yep.
Time out. I'm calling it. I got 2 timeouts left after this one. Time out. So what you said the hobby's done so much for you over the years. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. So one is it's intertwined with my career. It was my passion for model trains, so probably part of the reason where I've gone from being out in the field to a director in the organisation, because I'm passionate about everything trains, and the hobby's been a significant part of that. I tell people recently, and I think I've said it to you, Don, is that the hobby itself in the last 2 years and the investment that I've made through my life has paid for itself purely in COVID. It's been my mental break from everything that's happening with work and in this pandemic, and I've been able to go into the garage and model and do a lot of modeling, and that's paid for itself. You can't put really value on that, but to me that's been significantly important.
I'm going to interrupt you because I think that's an important point that we don't want to pass over. And I bet you Don and Bruce, you guys can add to this too. But you say the investment that you've put into it over the last years, and you're not talking monetary investment, you're talking time and enthusiasm investment, right?
Yep, absolutely.
You're talking intangibles. You're not talking about money. You're talking about the intangibles of the investment you've put into it. Has given you a positive feedback for your life.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm sorry to cut you off again. Don't lose that thought. But Don, could I not say that? Could we not say that in some form is the same for you, that the investment you've put into it since you've moved to Florida? Like, I mean, you made a pretty significant life change, not significant as in unpleasant, but significant as in you decided, okay, it's time for me and my wife we're going to move to Florida. We're going to buy ourselves a nice home. You gave up your layout that, as far as I can tell, you absolutely loved having your layout up there in Northeast, but you decided, you know what? I want to move. I want to start a new chapter in my life. And so, but you took model railroading with you and you created this thing that's completely different from what you did, but the time investment has paid back for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would never not ever be in model trains ever again. I mean, it's even before I even got the shed. The thing that kind of prolonged all that was having the pool put in, because I couldn't have the shed brought in until the pool was done. So that took half a year for that to happen, But once I brought that in, then I was able to get back to it. But in the meantime, before I even got involved with it, I had a little small room, little area with my wife's glass room, at a desk, and I took the opportunity to do all my locomotives, weather them, ditch lights, tune them all up, and then I started weathering cars and all kinds of stuff, getting ready for this. But the other thing is just the friendships, even down here. I mean, I didn't think I was gonna get involved that quick with other people, in the hobby, and it happened like right away. Within probably 3-4 weeks of a month, I was already meeting people and operating, and it's just a beautiful hobby, and I could never see myself not doing it ever again. And it just means a lot. I met Mark, and now I met Paul. I'm on the AML. I met all you guys, and it's just perfect. Yeah,
Are you going to go to Springfield next in January?
It's going to involve me going back in the cold.
Oh, yeah, but you'd have fun with us.
Yeah, I know. I haven't ruled it out.
Okay. Are you going to go to Tomstock?
I don't know. I got to talk to Mark. I got to figure out how this is going to happen, because he was talking about bringing his camper there. So I gotta check the Amtrak thing and see how I can get from here to somewhere where he can pick me up and meet me.
Okay, all right.
So we've been talking about it. So
all right, there you go.
It's definitely not off the back burner.
All right, Bruce, you have been a lifelong supporter of the hobby, so I want you to comment on this little discussion that we're having.
I have always, particularly been a life member of the NMRA since '83, I think, and a few years before that. But I have always thought, somebody says, well, what do I get out of the NMRA? Well, you get as much out of the NMRA as you put into it. It's like, what do I get out of joining the health club? Well, if you don't go out and participate, you get nothing. In model railroading and the NMRA, the same thing. If you go out and participate in the activities, you get a lot out of it. You share a lot with people, and it's an enriching experience. If you don't, then you're missing out on a lot of stuff. And I know there are some out there that are lone wolves. Try to find somebody in your area. Particularly this day and age of the internet, you can probably find some like-minded people. There's enough Facebook pages that you can find somebody, or do some Googling and find a group in the area, and, hook up with these guys, get out and make some new friends and join them, and you'll get a lot more out of the hobby than sitting and doing it by yourself.
How did you find guys, Don? How did you find them?
Well, when I went to the hobby shops, I used to check out who was in there. The trouble with down here is the hobby shops are mostly catering to the model airplane guys, or the aviation people, and the train aisles are 2 train aisles compared to 6 aisles of plane stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, I would, when I went into hobby shops, I would, if people were in the train aisle, I would talk to them, but I never had any luck there. Most of the guys were, they just stuck to themselves. They didn't want to do nothing. But like I told you about my friend Vin Glockley from Connecticut.
Right.
He comes down here in the winter, and he lives down here, and he hooked me up with these guys I'm operating with now. So he got me started, and then I also operated on another Greg Comar.
I've heard of the name.
Yeah, right. He's over in Tampa, him and his wife,
right?
And they got a beautiful layout there, HO scale layout. That I went there. Me and Vinny went there the first year I came down. We drove to Tampa, and we operated there all day long. Very, very nice, beautiful layout, very well done, great people. So I got to meet them. But I'm still digging. I thought I had. I joined the Florida East Coast historical rail fan thingy on Facebook, just only because I found out that FEC was towing the first Bright Line train set to Palm. West Palm.
You texted me that link.
Yes, and and it was supposed to be down here It was supposed to leave Bowden Yard at 3:00, 3:30, and I had the Coco camera on and waiting for it to come through. And me and my wife were sitting here watching it. Then we decided we're going to get a pizza, and so when it came through, we ran out, got a pizza, and we ran down to the tracks, and lo and behold, 8:30, this thing comes rolling through, pitch black.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen the video I posted on the page.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah,
but so
I don't know if I posted on it.
So you and your wife were out there with a pizza watching it go by.
Yep, we sat there and waited until 8. They finally came by at 8:30. It got hung up in just north of Melbourne because another train was coming out of Miami that went by us. As soon as I got down there, I'm like, this isn't good, because by the time this train gets to up there, they got to pass each other somewhere, and I'm not overly sure where the passing sightings are along the railroad yet. But so I kind of just joined this group at the last minute, and I got all this information from these people. and then lo and behold, there's a guy in Fort Pierce that models. I think he does the Tennessee Valley Railroad, and I started talking to him, and we're keeping in touch. And then I found another guy on Facebook up in Orlando, and he texts me. He says, if you want operators, I'm more than glad to come down. I'm like, okay. I says, I'm in Sebastian. He goes, no, I don't care. He says, about 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'll come down whenever you want. Said, okay. So we're going to get him down here. And, but little by little, they're starting to come out. If they're out there, I'll find them.
It's not taking you long, really. I mean, it's not taking you that long at all. I mean, there's a guy I gotta get it on the interview. He does these, he's a rail fan, and he does videos called Distant Signal.
That's Danny Harmon.
Danny Harmon. Yeah.
I love his stuff.
Got to get
He's
him.
fantastic. He explains to people about the prototype, and I watch every one of his videos too. I actually emailed him, and we had a discussion. He's not into modeling.
No, he's not. He's not at all. But I mean, it would still be a great interview.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
He's a real character.
Yeah. I hope to run into him someday.
Yeah. Well, we should make you know what, Don, that should be a point you and I make, is meeting up with him and taking him to lunch.
Yeah, sure.
You'll pay. You'll pay.
Yeah, I'll pay. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. You're paying.
There's probably two other points I was going to say about the hobby.
Okay.
One is that link. My parents, mum and dad, encouraged me in my modelling all through my life, and I did say in the email that, mum used to slip me money, go buy something for the layout, and when mum and dad in their dad's passed now, but he was 94. They'd come to my house, and first thing they'd want to do is go in the garage and have a look at my layout. And that's something that you hold dearly to you, especially when you lose your parents. That they were part of it, and Mum's still with us. And up until recently, she was still encouraging me in my train. So that's something that I'll always hold dearly to me. The other thing happened recently, earlier this year, is that with COVID and work, we'd have a like a social get together in the afternoon on a Friday with the team, and someone asked me if I would showcase my layout. So I showcased the layout on Zoom, on Teams. I had 45 people watching and brought their kids in and watching and asking me questions and looking at the layout. And I think the more we can do things like that, encourages more into the hobby. And I had a lot of inquiries from colleagues about it, and I know a few are interested in taking up the hobby as well. And I think, if we want the hobby to grow and want the hobby to continue, it's up to all of us to encourage people to come in the hobby. My granddaughter, who's 2.5, the other day she was here. First time I've seen her in 5 months because of lockdown. She went in the garage and she stands on a stool, and I give her the controller, and she knows what button to push for the horn, and she loves it.
Yeah, I'll bet she does. But I think we're past that part. I really truly think we're past that part where we've got to, obviously we want to encourage everybody to be in the hobby, but I think we're passing that part. I think it's going to grow on its own now just because it's so accessible. I think there's a lot of people that like this, will love this hobby. And I think it's because it's accessible, I think, on now. And I mean, the best thing could possibly happen to this hobby in decades is the fact that Gordy Robinson is now the president of the NMRA. I mean, oh my goodness! I mean, to have a guy as enthusiastic as Gordy is in his mid-30s to be the president of the NMRA. I mean, don't you think, Bruce, that he's going to do so much that it's going to be you're going to be just kind of dizzy with the fact we are so lucky that Gordy showed up. I think
absolutely, no doubt about it. He is a man with a mission and a vision to bring the NMRA into the current century in all sorts of ways, and I think the members are going to be pleasantly surprised. And talking to him and hearing some of the things he want to do, I wouldn't be surprised if he can turn around and start increasing membership in the NMRA instead of having it drop off.
Yeah.
I agree.
Paul, I wanted to ask you something else. So when I stopped you, because I wanted to talk when you said about the investment and all that, you said you do mentoring for your full-time job too for the railroad.
Yeah. So
what is the railroad called again? NSW.
So I work for Transport for New South Wales, who is the owner of the assets, owner of the track, and Sydney Trains is the operator. Still government, but Sydney Trains is let's just say, the franchise owner, and operate the trains on the network.
Okay, so you work. Okay, I'm very confused, but that's okay. It's
actually similar to the Canadian model.
Well, now I'm really confused.
Yeah, it's very, very similar to Vancouver, where the government basically owns all the assets, and you have a mix of government operators and private operators for buses, and things like that. We're very similar.
All right.
So I put together new people who join the program. They might be young engineers or cadets or admin people or what we call change managers who don't understand the basis of signalling. So I'll run a session every second Thursday for an hour on different topics about the program and take people through, or I will arrange a subject matter expert to come in and talk to this group. So it builds underlying understanding and knowledge of what we're doing. I also examine up-and-coming signal electricians to become signal electricians and engineers as part of my role, which I like to do that because, one, it keeps me on my toes, that I need to keep not lose any of that knowledge, but also it's giving back to the industry, and I think that's really important. One thing and I guess anyone who's been in a business long enough start to get looked at as you get 40s. Once you get in your 50s and 60s, that you're old school and you're not up for change and all this type of thing. And I don't agree with that. You've also always got to look for improvements. But one thing you do have to understand is that sometimes things occur for a reason or as a result of an incident. And the danger is losing that knowledge. We do things for a reason because of possibly of a previous incident. So I try and get people to understand that as well, is that when you want to change something, by all means, but understand the reasons why you're doing it and why it was done in the first place. And I think you can't teach someone that. You learn that from experience.
Yeah. I was just sitting here while you're talking, thinking to myself, sounds like I'm talking to Rich Winiski and Dave Ableys and Jack Crabicino. I mean, I think railroading worldwide, certainly in the Western world, anyways, Western, all you guys are dedicated. The thing that I haven't talked to all the railroaders I have, Clem Harris and Mike, the Spoon and Abeleys and Emery Lehman and Pinellas and Emery Lehman and all these guys. I know I'm leaving out a bunch of guys. The thing I notice is that you guys are like, it's a job, but when trains start moving, it's serious business because of the size of the equipment and everything and the force that's behind it. I always think that's pretty cool. And I was lucky enough, like I say, I mostly worked in the trucking division, but I was lucky enough. I can say I worked for the railroad for 3 or 4 years as a young man, so it's I understand it a little bit.
Well, as a signal guy, we always say all our job's about is keeping two big hunks of metal apart. And it's about allowing them now to run safely, and it's about running efficiently and more trains in the same area. And as the technology improves, we're able to do that without putting in more rail lines, which is extremely expensive to do that type of stuff. So if you can spend and upgrade a signaling system and your throughput increases from 16 trains an hour to 24 or even 30 trains an hour on the same piece of line, you've saved the economy billions in expanding it.
And have you been able to do something like that in any particular area where you've?
Absolutely. So the system we're installing will take most of the network from 16 or 20 trains up to 24 and 30 trains an hour.
Man, is rail fanning something in Australia? Is it anything? Do guys go out and rail fan in Australia?
Yeah, same as US. It's just that I prefer US, but yeah, there's a lot of rail fanning in Australia. It's very popular. It's no difference no matter what country you're in. I've been to Japan and noticed that as well, and Europe. It's a love.
Okay.
And actually, even in our group, we've got modelers from Europe who are modeling shelf layouts European style. So it's good to see.
This is a great group that you guys have you've created. It's kudos to you guys. It should become Bruce. Don't you think HO scale shelf modelers should become the official shelf modelers group of the AML network?
It's certainly one I like to look at all the time because it's there's a lot of people there, and like they've said, they don't, like it or not, some of the other groups you get some, for lack of a better term, the keyboard warriors who some guy posts something and they just rip it to shreds. Oh, that's not the way to do blah blah blah. Yep. No, this is from what I've seen. Anybody can post, and somebody will nicely make a comment or suggest a way to do things different, things like that. It's friendly. It's not condescending, and it's not a competition. It's a bunch of guys help another bunch of guys improve their model railroading.
That's what it's all about.
I've seen groups that we've got 50,000 members, and someone will post and there'll be 400 likes and no comments, and or as you say, they're starting to pull the person apart, and that's not what the hobby's about. No, you can't post that on this type of group because it's not about that type of layout. We get people sometimes post they're not shelves, but it's the one family. It's all part of the hobby.
How long have you worked for the railroad now?
I'll be 42 years in January.
You hear that, Spoon? You got a 40-year guy here now. You going to make it to 50?
I don't think I'll make 50. I think I'll make between 45 and 48.
Do they have the same kind of wonderful pension program in Australia that they do in North America?
Yeah. Some we have what's called defined benefit super.
Yeah.
So I tell people,
don't answer any questions you don't want to.
No, but I tell people I made the most important financial decision of my life when I was 15, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I think my first day of employment, they threw 4 forms in front of me. One in those days was you had to join a union; it was mandatory. One was for the Railway Social Club, and one was for superannuation. I remember asking, "What's superannuation?" And they said, "Well, you put money aside out of your pay every week, and when you retire, you'll have something to retire to." And what I didn't understand at the time, that it was a defined benefit scheme. So a defined benefit scheme, as long as you stay with the railway through to retirement, is you basically get 4.5 times your retirement salary, or you can opt to take half of that in a pension for life.
So let's rewind here.
Yep.
When did you make this great decision? At what age?
The day I joined the railways at 15.
How did you get a job with the railway at the age of 15?
So in those days, the age you could leave school was 14. Well, I started school at 4.5, and I finished, I guess what we call year 10, which would be senior.
Right.
And I passed my exams to get a trade. So I left. So I was 15 when I started.
You were 15 when you started full time with the railroad.
Yep.
Wow.
You get arrested in the U.S. for that.
Yeah. Holy mackerel. What year would this have been?
That was in 1980.
And you started working for the railroad full time at the age of 15.
Yeah, that's correct.
And what were you doing?
I spent the first 3 months in their training school, learning how to file metal, how to terminate cables, and then 3 months after that, I was out in a maintenance depot walking the track with the Sigilex, doing signaling maintenance and learning all about signaling.
So when you were 15, you were a signal maintainer, basically?
Yeah, well, we're certainly assisting the signal maintainer and learning.
Yeah, but you were out in the field doing signal maintenance under the supervision of somebody that was more experienced.
Yep, absolutely.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm trying to think of a polite word, but I mean, it's like a great story to hear for sure. This is like a lousy interview because I'm like all over the map. I don't care what you say, Don. When you're listening to this one and you get to this part, I just nod your head in agreement.
I will.
All right.
It's best for all involved.
Yeah, it's just best for everybody involved. I can't get over that you were at 15. You were hired. So how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 57. I'll be 58 in February.
Oh, have you seen a doctor?
Well, that's
There
funny.
it goes. It's deep center. It's gone.
It's gone. It's another Lincoln Homer.
If you were 15 in the United States and went to any railroad, they'd look at you, laugh, and say, "Come back when you're 18."
Yeah, minimum.
No way they would hire you less than 18 years
Do they
old.
still do that? Do they still do that?
I think they've increased the age to 16,
Jeez.
but it's so competitive to get in now that most have done senior high school.
Okay.
They're at university entrance to get an apprenticeship, and we also do senior intakes now. So people want a change in career. So we have adult trainees coming in as well, and of course, railways going through a whole explosion in itself around the world. So there's a demand for experienced signalling people, and then we're training new people to come in.
And I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
You're right.
No, it's not.
It's okay.
No, it's not.
I was just going to say there's also a lot of private companies now who are training and doing maintenance as well. It's not purely government anymore, and there's a lot of companies out there who come in on weekends and do the big renewals work and also, of course, the construction work as well.
Just like I'm enjoying listening to Viewer Mail 86, and I think it's incredibly entertaining. When I'm listening to this, I'll be screaming at the radio in my car, going, "Will you shut up and let the man talk?"
I got a question to ask you. You said that you're in the union over there. Is it easier for these young kids to get in if they have a relative or a friend that's in the union to help them along, or it doesn't matter?
That's long gone now. It's really independent employment. You have to sit for an exam and entrance exam and all that type of stuff. So no, it's still. I'd say there's still unions in here, but it's fairly balanced. It's a good balance.
Yeah, ours was like that years ago. But like if you had a father, an uncle, or somebody in there, you could slide right in. But they've done away with that now because what happened is that it takes about $5,000 they invest into an apprenticeship over 5 years to train them, and then what would happen is when some of these kids would get into it 3.5, 4 years, and then they leave and go work for a non-union contract.
Yeah.
So they frowned against that, and now you had to have an aptitude test. You had to have a year of you have to have a year of algebra. You have to pass it, and they just implemented these different things to try to keep what they would call the riffraff out.
And it is interesting though, because I do come from a railway family. So my brother was my older brother was on the railways. My sister was on the railways. Then when I got married, my father-in-law was a track supervisor on the railways. My brother-in-law was a switcher on the railways.
So see, it's the same thing with my family. My father's uncle, my father's father, me, and my brothers all in the same union, the same electrical union. So it's like a family. It's like the family biz.
Yep.
I was just wondering how that effect was there, that it was like it was here, but they don't do it here anymore. That's gone.
And we don't. Most of the areas of the railways do not have seniority anymore either.
Right. We never had that.
What do you mean? Yeah, I understand seniority to simply be the oldest guy, the guy with the longest term gets the choice of the jobs. They don't have that anymore?
No, it's basically you sit for interview. The person with the most merit for roles get the role.
Most merit?
Yeah, so you sit an interview, answer a number of questions. If you wanted a job, a promotion. I think that the train drivers are still based around seniority, train crew, but most of the other roles in engineering and that are merit selection.
And Don, they don't have seniority in the electrical union anymore?
No, never had seniority. Your seniority was based on how well you worked. So if you were a good worker and you gave the contractors 8 hours, 8 hours work for 8 hours a day, you'd have a job for life. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I got hooked up with a contractor by accident as a second-year apprentice, and I spent my whole career working for the same guy with 5 different companies, but the same boss.
Really?
Yeah, because if he got aggravated and went from this company to another company, I got a phone call within 24 hours. It was like, you got to come. I need you here. I need you. It was a great. I mean, you're going to be lucky to have a boss like I had. The nice thing about him is he came from the field. That's the best kind of boss to have, because he knows what you're up against. He knows what the weather is. He knows everything, and he feels for you when those days come. It's hot, it's humid, it's cold, freezing rain. There's nothing like working for a guy that's been through all that.
Right.
Absolutely. And I guess I can relate to that, coming from the field. I've been out there in the high temperatures and the rain, storms. When I'm now, in a high level role, I still know what they go through. Yep. And when you always take that into account in your decision making. When I was managing infrastructure incidents, I knew, we had crews out there in 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 46 degrees centigrade heat working out on the rails. You understand what they're going through, or in significant electrical storms. You never forget those days.
Well,
I don't want to put you on the spot, Paul. Cassar. I love that, Cassar. What a great name. Got to be. You should be starring a James Bond movie for sure, or an action hero. Like Steven Van Damme. I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
No.
But I can't, and we're sort of running out of time, and I feel like I just haven't done a really good job of interviewing you very much. Just because I don't. Are you just basically a big shot? Is that where we're at?
I've never seen. Sometimes I sit back and think, "Gee, you're a director." I never thought that I'd get anywhere near to this level of management. Look, I've never seen myself as that.
No, okay, but how many bosses do you have? Like, how many levels of management are there above you?
There's the program director I report to. He's responsible for the whole rollout of this program of works. He reports to the executive director, who reports to the secretary, who's the highest person in transport.
Okay.
So about 3 or 4 levels low, and that's my choice. I don't want to go any higher. I'm happy at this level. If you've had staff, and I know that you have, as much as it's great having staff, sometimes it's good having a position that you don't. And I really only have 2 direct reports, but when I was managing infrastructure operations, I had 120 staff reporting to me. And it's always the 20% that take all your time. So, so I'm in a good place now. I'm in a role that my signaling experience is crucial for the execution of this new system, and I can assist people, and it'll be a big achievement when we start rolling this out on the network.
I think we need to. I think we kind of blew past that because there was lots of information coming at me there at the start, and I think we blew past that. So I think we're going to have to do this again and try to understand, because it sounds pretty exciting. What you're in charge of is this digital
system. So it's as I said, it's a European train control system. So it's a system that they use in Europe for their high-speed network, their high-speed trains.
Right.
We're actually going to put it in on our commuter trains.
So that it will control. So it's probably some sort of fancy automated system where stuff happens when a train trips a sensor or something, and blah blah blah.
Do they still see the signals in the cab? Is that so? It's basically moving the wayside signals to the cab.
So we get with the wayside, and they'll have what's called a driver machine interface. They'll have a screen, and the screen will tell them how far they're permitted to go, what speed they're permitted to go, and it basically they'll basically drive the train off the screen, and if they're not on the braking curve that they need to be, the system will override and brake the train.
All right, so you're doing away with signaling aspects altogether.
Yes, altogether.
So basically, it's train orders on a computer screen.
In a way, yep, that's correct. But it's what we call movement authorities. So we give the train the authority to go to a certain location or distance, like to the next signal, to the next block, and the system monitors the performance and ensures that the train pulls up. So in most cases, the driver's always in full control, but we're giving the driver the information updated because the trains via the digital system is talking to the interlocking. So, for example, if a engineer goes past a signal now, takes that information from that signal, but doesn't get updated that information until he approaches the next signal. Under this system, the train's always talking to the interlocking. So if a train ahead is further in advance, the movement authority would advance further, so the driver's told immediately to continue and at what speed.
Nice.
So it's basically then monitoring each train and giving it a zone in which it can safely operate.
Yeah, that's correct. And you've still got a dispatcher who's setting those movement authorities for where the train needs to go.
So what would be at the end of the block to indicate to the engineer, train driver?
It'll be like, I'm pretty sure it's like there's a bar on the screen, and it's getting shorter and shorter as they're getting closer to the end of the authority. So it gives them the information. It's like an arrow saying, well, this is how far you can go.
So what would happen? Is there anything outside is physically outside beside the tracks?
Anything physically on the track is axle counters that counts the block. So you have for the length of the block, there'll be an axle counter in and an axle counter out so that we know the exact position of the train. And there's also a balise, which is like an induction coil in the track, which is a what's the word I'm looking at? It's a fixed item, and it just gives the geographical position to the train, so the train knows where it is, and that's all. The rest is via radio.
So, do you think there will ever be a day when there are no engineers?
Well, the metro systems now around the world don't have engineers. Are you talking about drivers?
Yeah. We call them engineers in North America.
So we have metro systems in Sydney. The new metro is driverless.
Yeah,
Singapore has driverless metros.
Vancouver's the same with their stuff. The trains at the airport in Toronto and Dallas have no drivers, and they're all automatic.
What, the train that goes from Toronto Pearson International to downtown?
No, that goes between the terminals at Toronto.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's all, and the same as the train that goes between terminals in Dallas. They're all
Well,
driverless.
I
The Vancouver Skyline's all driverless.
They're all what they
And I
call
think I think
CBTC.
San Francisco BART has also now gone
Yep.
driverless, hasn't it?
Yeah, the BART as well.
Well, now you tell me.
pretty
I ride that between terminals train at the airport all the time. I didn't know it was driverless. Well, now you
There
tell
you
me.
go.
Well, I'm not getting
You're
back
gonna
on.
you're gonna panic next
Now
time.
I'm gonna panic. Yeah.
You're gonna call an Uber to go from terminal.
Yeah, I'm
to
gonna call
terminal
an
3
Uber.
now?
Yeah, I'm calling an Uber.
That's the same way in Orlando Airport. It's a driverless train from the terminal to
That's
the main
true.
terminal.
That's true. Will you quit? Will the two of you just knock it off? That's what I'm going to
It's-
do. That's what I'm going to do next year for my walk for the my 1 more year walk. I'm just going to get an Uber.
There you go.
So we're trialing in Sydney driverless buses.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not thrilled.
Yeah.
Not
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not quite ready for the driverless road vehicle.
Well, that's like my son always says. They're trying to do they're going to, how they talk about they're going to driverless trucks, and he says, "Yeah, try doing that in 3 feet of snow."
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now, Domino's is testing that with the pizza. So if they do get a wreck, it ain't going to hurt the pizza.
Yeah, exactly. What? So this pizza that you and your wife ordered, what did it have on it?
Pepperoni and cheese. Well, she likes pepperoni and cheese. I like a lot of stuff on it. We just get pepperoni and cheese. That's what she likes.
Yeah, that's what she likes. Yeah, you could do half and
That's
half.
always a safe bet.
Or
Or get 2 small ones, individual ones.
there's a bunch of places, but I went up to Little Caesars because I can get it quick.
Oh, there you
Yes.
go. All right.
You know,
Yeah.
I like
Okay,
the
I
little
have
portal.
I have a quick question for Paul.
Yeah.
Looking at your profile pic on your personal page, it's a radio telescope. I'm guessing it was involved with NASA somewhere, and I don't think it's Honeysuckle Creek. Where is it?
It's a Parkes, which is
Okay.
and that radio satellite was the one that took in the video footage of the Apollo 11 landing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's it. I was there earlier this year. It's incredible.
Have you ever been? So you were born and raised in Australia, then,
That's correct.
because the line was shorter. That's a great story.
The world moves in mysterious ways.
It does.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Oh, let's over here. It's not the long line. Let's go.
Yeah, but that's Australia. It's okay, dear. We'll just go there instead. It's the same as
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
only there's no snowplows. Well, that's it. We've chewed up enough time. We'll have to do this again. What'd you think, Don? Your first time kind of being a co-host?
I like it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Look forward to doing it again. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just send in your check for $382 and.
I will do that as soon as I get off with you guys.
Payable to cash.
Yeah. Made payable to cash.
Actually, I got PayPal. I'll just PayPal it.
Yeah. Okay. There you
That
go.
would work.
Yeah, we do PayPal. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely, we do.
You know what we didn't talk about, Bruce? I wanted to talk about. Guess we got to tell everybody about these cool mugs that were.
Oh yes.
So Robin, I can never say his last name. I'm gonna find it here, and then I'll see if I can spit it out. I met him a couple of 3-4 years ago. Hang on
Those
here.
are nice. Those are neat.
I know.
Yeah, they're beauties.
Yeah.
Hang on.
One of them.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, they're insulated.
So
and,
his last name is Talukdar. Talak.
TAL
UK.
Talakdar.
Talukdar. There's 3 syllables.
Talakdar, I'm guessing.
Talakdar.
Talakdar.
Talukdar. I like that.
Talakdar.
How about we just go with Robin?
Yes.
Anyways, he sent us these really cool. You got a mug that has. I put the pictures up on the.
It's got a picture of me out doing Northern Sawood Owl banding.
And it says I'm on mute.
I'm on mute. So
Yeah.
that's a little Northern Sawood Owl, weighs maybe 100 grams in the size of your hand.
And I got one that has Subway Chime Go on it with a picture of Toronto Subway on it.
But I was impressed by the fact it has sweat-free technology in it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, you read the little card inside. It's the double-wall vacuum insulation, sweat-free technology. So you can load her up with a nice ice-cold beverage on a hot, humid day, you won't get a pool of water underneath your mug.
Yeah, see, that's the difference between you and me. You read the information that comes with it.
Yeah, and I also read it's not dishwasher safe. So
it's
don't
not?
put it in your microwave. No, it's not. And don't put it in your microwave.
I see. So you carefully read the instructions. I take mine and just see how much beer I can get in it.
Don't put it. Not dishwasher safe. Do not microwave. Do not place in freezer. Do not use bleach or harsh cleaners.
So Robin sent me something I got to wash myself.
Unless you have people do that for you.
Maybe I'll just say every time he gets dirty, I'll just mail it back to him.
New one, please.
Yeah. Or no, just wash it. No, it can be the same one. He can wash it. No, I'll just send it back to him.
That's funny.
What do you think, Paul? How was your first time on the old AML?
Excellent. I thought it was great. A lot of fun. Enjoyed it.
How did I sound?
Oh, great.
Okay.
Great. Always do.
What a tool I am. What a complete tool I am. Like the last guy that should have a podcast is me. All right.
No, it's very, very enjoyable. I wait for everyone to be downloaded.
I know. I love listening to him too. And I do them and I still love listening to him. It's so great to be connecting all these people together. It's like Don, you and I are a perfect example. When we meet each other for the first time, we're going to go to lunch. And it will be we won't be, there'll be no first date jitters, as our buddy, a hard straight ball says. There'll be no first date jitters. We'll be like, oh, hey, how you doing? Where do you want to go? It's like jumping the truck.
Buzz.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You can't beat it. You just can't beat it. Bruce, can you give out our email address, please?
Yes, sir. Email address. Please let us know what you think, and we love all the emails. We're getting more and more emails, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. If you ever listen to some of the viewer mail, you'll know. So our email address, Modler's Life, it's Modlers with one L, modlerslife@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you can't be bothered, if you didn't have a pen or a pencil and you couldn't grab that address, if you just go to our website, amodlerslife.com, that's amodlerslife.com. If you just go there and scroll down a little bit, there'll be a picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state. And if you just click on that picture, boom, then all you got to do is fill in your text. Just put in a title like Lionel read this and then put in your complaint or your...
What could be easier?
Yeah, and we want them all.
We get complaints.
We do. We want them all. If you're something you don't like, tell us about it. Unless you're Rich Winisky, then we don't really care.
How can you improve? How can you improve if you don't get feedback?
Exactly. How can you improve? Exactly. Although some of the feedback we got where the guy said, get over saying how amazing the internet is. I don't see me stopping that.
No.
I can't get over it.
Do we discuss it enough tonight? If you're doing about another 20
minutes I know. Yeah, we should do another 10 minutes on Bruce. You're never going to believe who I met. Blah 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 blah. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh yeah, I think this is going to be Robin. Or not Robin. Paul Cassar. Robin was the one that sent us the mugs. Yes. So how much beer does yours hold?
I don't know. I put it in here. It's
What do you think you'll use yours for?
I'll put a beer in it for sure.
Okay.
I will probably put a tea in it at some point in time. I'll probably put ice water, lemonade. A bit of lemonade or limeade with gin in it. And a couple ice cubes would be a beauty in there.
Yeah.
Nice.
So when you pop open that brewski, what's it going to be?
The one I would think would be either going to be a steam whistle, which is a local Toronto product, or I got a can of Innocent Gun kicking around somewhere, which is a beer out of Scotland that's aged in old whiskey barrels.
What about Belching Beaver?
I'll have to try to find some Belching Beaver.
Hey, Don, what's do you have a beer of choice?
I try all different kind of IPAs.
Okay.
So the trouble is down up north, you were able to go into a liquor store and buy separate ones, so you can try it. But down here, not so much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I'm like a Voodoo Ranger kind of guy down here.
You need to get Herrick to bring you down a truckload.
Yeah, I know. I need to. I need
like Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
it's
there
not
you
easy.
go.
Southbound and down.
You would. I got another guy, a neighbor of mine, that moved down there from Connecticut too, and he has somebody send him down stuff from up north too, so he passes along some of the stuff to me every now and then.
Right. When I should be driving down to Florida in the next in about another 2 weeks from when this has been recorded. Would you like me to stop and buy you some beer?
Sure.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I know. The thought that counts.
Yeah, it's the thought that counts. Paul, Australians don't drink beer, do they?
Not very much. No, probably. It's certainly popular here as well.
Yeah, without a funnel, they don't drink it. What beer do you enjoy?
I actually drink an IPA. It's called Stone and Wood. It's a locally brewed beer. Well, locally, it's up in Byron Bay, which is closer to Martin than me. It's a Pacific ale, and that's probably my favourite. But guess what? My wife and my favourite drink is that we drink a lot.
What?
Canadian Club.
Oh, there you go.
That's not a beer, but it's a good choice.
It's whiskey.
Yeah.
It's whiskey brewed originally in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Walkerville by Hiram J. Walker and Sons Limited.
Windsor, Ontario, of course, is just south of Detroit.
Exactly. Well, you laugh. It's about a mile south of Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. We've been through all that.
Yes.
Motown.
Have you guys ever heard of the app called Untapped?
The app called Untapped?
Untapped, yeah, it's a beer app. So you put it on your phone or whatever device you have, and as you have a different beer or a beer or whatever, you go on this Untapped app and you post it on there, and you can connect it to your friends, and everybody could just everybody just sees what everybody's drinking.
Oh, that's
it keeps track of how many beers you actually drink if you want to know.
I can see this could be a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time.
Yeah,
exactly. Me and Mark both do it. So
no
he has a beer. I know what he's drinking. He knows what I'm drinking.
Yeah. You guys have the truck back up each week. So Paul, if Martin Jenkins ever walks up to you and says, "Hey, are you Paul Cassar?" You know what to say, don't you?
Yes, I am.
No, you just say no and go the other way. He's the NMRA. He's the NMRA director at large.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have a minimum of a 46 waistband to be the NMRA director at large. Dun, dun, dun. That's a good spot for a rim shot.
Actually, I think Martin was on the first AML podcast I listened to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he came back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unlike our friend Rob Dye. Well, Rob did come back after a while.
Talk about a rail fan in Australia. There's your guy right there. Rod Dye. There's your rail fan in Australia right there. And we kid Martin, but of course we love Martin. Good guy. So, all right, what else do we have to do? Oh, yeah. If you want a T-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, a mug, whatever you need, you just go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com. Don, have you ever bought anything from those guys?
I have.
Yeah?
I got plenty of packages. Oh, yeah. I got my T-shirt I got on. I bought a bunch of structures and a bunch of modeling pots and stuff from them. It's usually my go-to place.
Perfect.
I've got a shopping cart full from there at the moment, but I can't buy it because USPS have suspended shipping to Australia at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, not enough aircraft coming over because of border closure, and Canadian Mail have also suspended. So I'm sort of. I actually ordered a shirt and an AML shirt, but I can't buy it at the moment until shipping gets reinstated.
You get an email from them every day wondering what's going on with your cart?
I did for a while, but then I emailed back and said, "Hey, what can I do?" And Steve or his father, I think, emailed me back and said, "We're trying to find another way to send, but the system you have to put in your address, of course, for shipping, and because they've removed Australia off the list because of the suspension.
What about DHL or UPS or FedEx? They're not coming in there either?
I think they are. I think they would, but I think the Midwestern system website doesn't allow to select a different supplier.
Well, they can't. They couldn't ask. Could you ask them if they could ship it to the UPS or the other one if you wanted that stuff?
They never got back to me, but I think I may do that. Send them an email, ask if we can do a manual type of purchase and look at another way of shipping it across.
Right. I can't depend on USPS because they're not dependable at all.
No, I'm going to ask Stephen if he's awake. He's working and doing a Broadway show right now. He's an electrician on Broadway.
Yeah. A lot of electricians around here today.
I know.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, "Are you awake?" And see if he's awake. He's like always boom. He's like, I think he's sleeping right now though, because he's got this early morning commute. Although he's catching up on the podcast. So, anyways, if you want all your train stuff and whatever, just go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com. It's 15,000 square feet. It is like walking through a real life Walthers catalog.
It's a go-to place. There's three shops I would love to go to. One's that one. The other one is Otter Valley, Canada, of course.
There you go. Where do you go? Otter Valley, Lauren James. You hear that, Lauren?
Friend Lawrence James.
Yeah, well, I've got an order. I ordered from him back in July, and it's still somewhere between here and Canada. It hasn't arrived yet, but I'm sure it'll arrive at some stage. And the other one is it Spring Creek?
Spring Creek, yes. In Deschler, Nebraska.
Yeah, they're the three that I'd like to visit one day.
You know what else is in Deschler, Nebraska?
No.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I got that right.
but they are one of the official purveyors of Proto Throttle.
Oh, look at this. He's awake. So I'm going to say, can you send? I'm going to put, can you? And I'm typing and talking at the same. This is trouble. You guys got to.
This would be time for you to be quiet, and we put elevator music in while you're doing this.
All right. What else do we got to do? Have we done everything now?
We've talked about the website. Did you mention Patreon?
No, we haven't mentioned Patreon. So this is on the live channel. So if you really enjoy this and you want to hear twice as much podcasting as you can, just go to our website again, modelerslife.com, and there will see Patreon. Click on Patreon, and it'll explain to you how to join up. And for just 365 payments of 16 cents, you too can have as many podcasts as you can possibly handle. Oh, Stephen says Australian shipping is supposed to be restored within the week.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
But I wonder if the stock was my cart's still holding this stock. I wonder if it's actually still there or not. I'll just place the order and see how I go.
Yeah. All right, I'll put, is his cart still holding the stock? Is his cart still...
See, folks, not only do we interview people, we get results from people.
Customer service.
It's unbelievable. Yes. What a smile.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll get your difficult answers and problems solved. We're like those consumer guys on the TV, you
know. So there he's looking at it now. So wait a minute, he's answering. The little thing is, no, he's not answering. And this could take a little while. All right. So I think we've covered. Yeah. So go to Patreon because you're going to be very happy because that's our buddies. Kaylee Zhang calls it the Ansix channel, and it's very entertaining. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. And I think now we've covered it all.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Here it goes. It is not. However, if he was to take a screenshot, he could email info@midwestmodelrailroad.com and Brandy would take care of it.
Excellent. I'll do that.
Oh, and he says, we are moving the whole site to a new platform, so there are a handful of things that are odd right now.
Good thing I had this tonight, but you would never know this.
Whatever we can possibly do to help our Australian friends.
And you know, one thing I was going to say was
I'm
to do with the
I'm sorry,
explosion of the hobby.
We're out of time. All right, go for it.
Is a ability for online shopping, online hobby stores. As much as I like to, you know, if we had some good local ones, there's not many left. It's enabled me to buy all my American models through online stores, and I think that's a huge advantage when there's so much stock available at Midwestern and Otter Valley. It's just incredible that we have that capability.
There you go. Hear that, Lauren James? He's talking about Otter Valley. So I just said, will the AML be front and center on the new website? He said it will be front and right.
Well, there you go.
There's some weird fronts in there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now we got to stop. 2 hours, 11 minutes. Probably by the time I finish editing it and I cut out all Don's parts, we'll be down to about an hour and 40 minutes, but that's okay.
Beautiful.
That's it. We're done. We got to get out of here. These are too long. When they get long,
out of this place.
Yeah, when they get long, they get hard to edit.
Thing we ever do.
Nah. Got to save some for next time.
Yeah. Okay. Have we done everything? I think we've done everything. So, Paul, do you know what to do at the end of the podcast?
I'll have a go.
We don't.
Are we gonna run a pool on this one?
Yeah.
I should have had some conversation with him about this earlier.
Yeah.
No.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be.
I wasn't sure if it was going
to be an episode or what it was going to be. So I wasn't sure what to tell him.
It's an episode, all right.
Yeah, it sure is.
All right, but he says he listens.
Yep.
All right, let's give him a try. Well, Paul, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say...
Uh-oh.
It was a cricket.
Well, I know. I thought you would say 6 out of... Well, I can say it.
No.
I bummed it.
And up until this point, it was going along smooth as silk. And now it's like we're riding down the 80 grit sandpaper.
Yeah.
I hear the crickets.
Yeah. This guy is supposed to be the Director of Operations and Maintenance Signal Integration Digital Systems Program for Rail Delivery Infrastructure in Place for Transport for New South Wales. I don't think so.
Okay, I've got it.
And in 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, Paul. Paul. This would never. You wouldn't be having any of this problem if you didn't know Don.
Boy.
Didn't you notice things started to slide sideways, Paul, once you started becoming pals with Don? Well, Paul, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of A Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
It only took us 2 hours and 15 minutes, but he got it out.
Yes.